Hi everyone, welcome back to another virtual farm tour here at Chatsworth Farm. I'm coming to you live from on top of one of our bale feeders in our cow pen. So I wanted to show you how our cows are now eating since we've used up all of our silage that we had made in the fall. So now we put bale feeders into our pens with our cows that are still yet to calve, and then also with our heifers. So I thought this would be the perfect way to show you how the cattle eat and tell you a little bit about how much they eat as far as the difference between hay, which is dried grass, or alfalfa, as well as how much they eat when it's actually fresh green grass. So I'm going to switch this around so you can actually see the cows. So you can tell that I'm up here, I'm a little bit elevated. I'm probably 8 feet off the ground, and I'm sitting on the core of the bale. It's big enough for me to sit on right now, but as the cows eat it down, it gets smaller and smaller. So right now the cattle are eating hay. So hay is dried grass. It can also be dried legumes, and a lot of our hay is made from alfalfa, which is a legume very similar to clover. And the cattle just stick their head right into the bale and right into the hay so they can get at the very best parts. And cattle will typically eat 25 pounds of dry hay a day. But then when you compare that to how many pounds of green grass, which we don't have any green grass yet, it's definitely growing, but for now we still have to keep feeding our cattle hay. They will eat approximately 160 pounds, so there's a huge difference. But when you're looking at green grass versus dried hay, it takes a lot more dry hay to give you that 25 pounds than it does that green grass, because the green grass is filled with a lot of moisture, where this hay, it pretty much has zero moisture in it at all. So when you try and stack that up, it takes a lot longer for you to get 25 pounds than it does to get 25 pounds of green grass. And when the cattle are eating, they also have to consume a lot of water. So cattle will, on average, depending on the size of the animal and the weather, they'll drink between 10 to 20 gallons of water a day. And it'll always depend on the size of the animal, whether it's summer or winter, and even the climate. So cattle in warmer climates will drink far more water than cattle in temperatures that are a little more mild. So this pen right here are all the cows that have either just recently had their calves or we're still waiting on them to have their calves, so there are not very many left. And I apologize if the sound quality is a little bit down today. It's quite windy out here. So I'm trying to face in the direction where the wind is, the wind's behind my back, so I do apologize for that. So we have the bale that we're feeding the cows. It's placed in what's called a bale feeder, and it's just made out of steel. They can be round, or this one's an oval shape, so we're able to fit 2 bales in here if we need. And we'll pop down, and we'll get kind of eye level with the cattle, so then we can see. And hopefully right now we're behind the bale, so the wind will be a little bit less. And cattle are what are called ruminants, so they are cud-chewing mammals. And other mammals that also chew their cuds are giraffe, deer, sheep, goats. And so cattle will spend up to 6 to 8 hours a day chewing their cud as well as lying down. These cows also can be quite pushy. They like to push one another out of the way so they can get the best bits of the hay. And so with the hay, we'll be feeding them some silage when we had it. We've since run out of silage. Our pit is now empty, so we've gone through all of that. But we're getting to the stage where the green grass should be growing any day now. But for now, it's still hay bales. So this is what the feeder looks like from the outside and from the bottom. So there's slats all around it, so the cows are able to put their heads through. So they're not making too much of a mess. And this feeder is also tapered out a little bit, so it's called a skirt. So that means when the cattle are eating, they're not just pulling the hay out and letting it drop by their feet. It gets contained within the feeder, so they're not wasting as much. So all these girls are still pregnant. We're all still waiting for them to have their calves. We have a few in here who have had their calves. We're also joined by Lizzy today, so she's making sure this calf is doing well. Oh, Liz, you're in my way. So this is one of the calves that's just a couple of days old. This is a heifer calf. And heifer calves are females, and the bull calves are the males. So when we're talking about cattle in terms of what you call a bunch of females, so the females are cows, and they become cows right after they've had their first calf. Up until that point, they are known as heifers. And then any of the male cattle, those are called bulls. They're born as bulls, and then if they become castrated shortly after they're a couple of days old, those are called steers. So here we have one of our mothers, and the calves, you can see, curl up right next to the cows a lot of the time. So we'll get on the other side so we can see quite well. So you can see the calves snuggle up right against the cows at certain times, and other times they'll just be in completely different spots. And this calf here is a bull calf, so it's a male. And usually when we're in the pen with the cattle and we come up to one of the calves, it doesn't really matter which cow it is, whether it's the mother or not. They'll come over and check on us to make sure that we're not pestering the calf too much, that we're not hurting the calf. The cows are just very protective. They want to make sure their baby is all right. And on days like today, where it's very sunny and very warm, the calves are enjoying that a lot. So they'll sit in the sun, they'll just lie down, they'll relax. They're master sunbathers. So you'll come across a bunch of calves, especially in our bigger field where we have all of our older cows and calves, where they're just sprawled out in the sun. So this one's enjoying his nap in the sunshine. So you have one of the other mothers who has had a calf, so hers is in this pen as well. And today we have a beautiful Alberta sky, so it's lovely blue. We've got a lot of clouds. And then these girls on this other side, on the other side of these panels, these are our yearling heifers. So they're all young females. So we've got a great variety of colors. So here we have a Hereford influence heifer. So she's got that nice red coat and then the white on her face and red around the eyes. And this is also a Hereford influence heifer, but you can see that she's got black color in her instead of that red. So her mother has a bit more Angus in her than the other heifer's mother does. And this heifer right here, so she looks very similar. She's got that white on her face. But that white on her face, that would be called a blaze. Where this other heifer with the black around her eyes, that would be called a baldy. So we've got two different variations of what white on the face can be called. And so the heifer on the left-hand side, she has Simmental influence in her. And you can identify that Simmental influence by that just blaze on her face. It's not all over, it's kind of above the eyes, where the baldy heifer has the white that goes below her eyes. So these heifers will all be put out into summer pastures, and they'll be put with what's called a heifer bull, so a bull that's a little bit smaller, that's his use is to be used on heifers, so something a little bit smaller because they're still young and they're not very big yet. And they'll go on to be first-time calvers next year at this time. And heifers are always very inquisitive. They like to see what's going on. They're very interested in the calves themselves. So they like being on the opposite side of the pen from the cows and the calves. And they also have another bale feeder, so just like what the cows do, what I was sitting on earlier. So that's what it looks like. Just another view. And behind at the back of the screen, if we're looking into the pen, we can see these big wooden panels. So those are called windbreaks, and we use them in our pens, especially where we are. There are not a lot of trees, so we need something to be able to cut the wind or break the wind in the winter especially. So we use these man-made panels, and they're portable, so we can move them around wherever they need to be placed. And we'll put the straw behind there so the cattle are able to get out of the wind. They'll just go behind there, and it's just like having a nice set of trees or a row of trees. So all of our females are tagged with these yellow tags, so that's how we identify them out in the pasture, especially with the calves, so we know which is a male, which is a female. So all of these cattle in here will have yellow tags, except for that middle one. She's just lost her tag. And that'll happen as the cattle are moving through the summer pasture especially, and they go through trees and bushes. Their tags will get caught and will fall out, so we can just put in a new one. And most of our cattle in this pen have Black Angus influence in them. So our herd of cattle consists of mostly commercial cattle, or what are also known as crossbred cattle. So they're a mix of many different varieties. We have Angus, both Black Angus and Red Angus. We have some Maine Anjou, Simmental, Speckle Park, and Shorthorn. As well as we have the Herefords. And we have 200 head of cattle, and right now we've had most of our, or 200 cows, so we'll have 200 calves. And then plus these heifers and our bulls, we have close to 400 head. Or we sold some calves earlier this year. And right now with our calves, so our new baby calves that have been born and are still being born, we have 87 of them, so we're still waiting on a few more cows. In our last farm tour, we had one of our cats had kittens, so I'm going to go down to our poultry area and go take a look at those kittens because they're still pretty cute. They're so tiny. They're about the size of my hand, a little bit smaller. We have 5 of them. 2 are tabby. 2 are calico and 1 is gray. So we'll go down, check out the cats, try to walk in a way that it's not so windy, the sun's not in the way, so that can prove a bit of a challenge. But we have some of the other cows in here. So these cows that are lying down, these are most of the cows that are still haven't had their calves, so we're waiting on them. You can see they look pretty pregnant. This cow will give us a good show. You can see how big she is. She's got a lot of calf in there. Our calves on average tend to weigh between 85 to 90 pounds. We have had some big calves. We've had some monsters. A couple calves that were tipping the scales at 140 pounds. We usually don't like to have calves that are that big just because it makes the birthing process for the cow so much more difficult. And depending on the cow, it just can bring on a lot of complications. So we like to aim for calves that are a little bit smaller but still good size. I might have to walk backwards and then the sun won't be in the way. Over on this side, it's spring cleaning season, and our spring cleaning looks like cleaning the machines. So we have my brother who is cleaning off our feed wagon with our Fendt tractor. So this is the tractor we've been using all winter, and the feed wagon is what we used with our silage. So we put our silage in there, we'd put our hay, grain, and we put it mixed up together. They're blades that rotate inside. So he's been busy cleaning this off. So he uses a pressure washer to do that. He gets up into all the corners, cleans the undercarriage of the machine as well. And so this tractor is used in the winter for hauling this feed wagon, and then in the summertime we use it for cutting and making bales. So all that hay that you saw in the feeders for the cattle, we use that tractor to make those bales. So this tractor is a German-built tractor known as a Fendt. We'll wait and talk when it's a little bit quieter when we're on the other side. So this tractor is a German-built tractor known as a Fendt. And we actually had our aunt, uncle, and cousins go look at it for us in Ontario, and we had it shipped all the way here to Alberta. And then this feed wagon here, our other cousin works for a company in Dewberry, so that's where we bought this feed wagon from. So something very local and then something a little bit further afield. And so the model of this tractor is a 936. And once the feed gets mixed up and is in the tub of the tub, it gets fed out on this conveyor belt. So if you want to see a video of how we feed the cattle, we have one posted on our YouTube page that was posted a couple of days ago. It also has a scale, so it'll tell us exactly how much feed we put in. So we can be very accurate with the amount of forage, whether that's hay or silage or straw, we can be very accurate with the amount that we're giving the cattle. So that's a bit loud, so we'll move on from there. And while we're doing that, I thought we could talk about our livestock guardian dog, Lizzy. So she's finally followed me back. Come here, Liz. So this is Lizzy. She is our livestock guardian dog. She is a Great Pyrenees. And Great Pyrenees are not called great just in the name. They are large, very large breed dogs. But Lizzy is on the smaller end of that spectrum for her breed. Females, and Lizzy is a female, will weigh anywhere from 85 pounds and up. And then males can weigh anywhere from 100 to 140 pounds. So Lizzy is around 80 pounds, so she's a bit smaller than your typical Great Pyrenees. But she still is still Great Pyrenees through and through. They're a very majestic dog breed, and they also have a zen quality to them, but they can snap into action when they need to. And livestock guardian dogs, like the Great Pyrenees, are used for protecting any of the animals around your farm as well as your house. And they mostly do the protection of the smaller animals. So your sheep, your goats, your poultry. But she'll also take regular checks throughout the cattle, making sure that nothing is in there that's not supposed to be. Lizzy loves being pet. She's not the only one who misses a lot of visitors. So she really enjoys when people come over and visit the farm, especially kids. She loves kids. However, she can be a bit excited, and she's bigger than they are most times, so she just has to learn that she has to calm it down a little bit. But she still has lots of learning to do. She's only just a year old, but she's been an excellent dog. She loves rides in the Ranger, as well as joining me for horseback rides through the field. So Great Pyrenees were developed in the Pyrenees Mountains in Europe. So between France and Spain. And they were developed specifically to keep predators away from flocks of sheep, so bears and wolves. And they're used for that same reason today. So they are part of the working dog group, and their job is to protect livestock. So these are some of our steers, so they're enjoying their hay as well. We have some steers that are close to 2 years old, and then we have some that are just a year old. So you can see the difference. Lizzy also loves rolling in the hay and finding a spot to make a nest. She'll even prefer hay to any of the straw that we have set out. So I'm not quite sure what it is about the hay, but she absolutely loves it. And it's important for our cattle and our dogs or any of the animals to be completely comfortable with all the other animals. So we've got a lot of things that are moving around and making noise. So it's incredibly useful and just vital that everything gets along very well. And so the cattle don't mind the dog as long as it's not usually the cows and the calves. The cows are very protective, but they know that Lizzy's there and she's part of the farm, but they're always going to give her a second look. Whereas the cattle that don't have calves are very happy to interact with her. She'll sniff them, they'll sniff her. So things are finally drying up a little bit here after the all the mud It's been very sunny out, but we still have a lot of mud puddles. It's finally going to get to the point where we don't have to wear our rubber boots anymore, which will be lovely since we've been wearing our insulated rubber boots all winter. So finally being able to wear sneakers will be an exciting day. We're going to go check out the kittens that were born on Sunday. So if anyone is excited to see some very practically brand new kittens, we're going to go do that next. So if anyone can remember what our yard looked like earlier in the week, there was a lot more mud, so it's really dried up. So over here we have some of my geese. So we have Toulouse geese. They are a French breed, and I have 15 of them. And what we do with our geese and all of our poultry, so ducks, turkeys, and chickens, is we let them out during the day, especially on the really nice days. And they're allowed to go wherever they want to in the yard. There are no fences, there are no pens. So they can wander around the yard wherever they please. And they'll put themselves back in at night. So for the geese, this is their barn. So as it starts to get darker, they'll start to put themselves in. And the geese like to stay out late, so they won't go in until about 10 o'clock these past couple of nights, where the hens and the ducks are a little bit more go to bed early types. So they'll start going in at around 7. So it makes it really easy and convenient. All we have to do is come to this yard, close the door, and they've done all the work for us. So in here, which is our goose barn, we also have our litter of kittens. So this is our mum cat, and she doesn't have a name. Some of our cats do, some of them don't, and she's the one that doesn't. So she gave birth to these kittens on Sunday morning at around, I think, 11 a.m. And she has 5. So I didn't pull them out on Sunday just because they were very brand new. They were only a couple of hours old. But I'll pull them out so we can take a look at them. Their eyes still aren't open, so kittens are born with their eyes closed. And they'll develop their eyesight as they grow. So those are our 2 little tabbies. And then we have one little gray one. So that's the gray one. Oh, this is the tabby, sorry. That one's the calico. That one's just very... And then this is the more calico one. So those are our kittens. So they're all still very tiny. They're only about the size of my hand. And even in the past 3 days, they've grown a lot. So Sunday when they were born, they were even smaller. So this mother cat had her kittens in here just by herself. And what we've found in the last few years is whenever we've had kittens, the mothers like to have their kittens in the hen house. There's a lot of straw. The hen houses are very warm and they're very safe. So they'll either have them under one of the nest boxes, just like this one, or they'll actually have them in a nest box. So they'll hop up there and they'll have their kittens right in the nest box. So this mother cat and then one of our others had their kittens in 2 nest boxes in one of the other hen houses. So even though our cats are all barn cats or they're all farm cats, we like to have cats that are very friendly and don't mind us being around them or petting them. We're not really fans of having cats that are will run away and only come around for food. We have very personable cats. And this is especially important whenever we have kittens, because it's really difficult when a mother has kittens and they grow up without seeing any people around them. So we like being able to handle our kittens a lot so they get very friendly. So when we can give them away to good homes, they're very used to being touched and handled. So we'll move in a little closer. So sometimes the mums will stand up like this when they're nursing their kittens, or they'll lie down in a more comfortable position, which she's probably trying to do. And we've had cats that have had litters between, they've sometimes had as few as 3 and as many as 10. And you can hear the mother is purring as she's feeding her kittens, so she's quite content and happy. And all the kittens are making just very quiet little meowing sounds. So the cat is in here during the day for the most part. She'll pop out a few times to grab some food or just take a break from her kittens. And then she'll be in here most of the night. And so she shares this building, which is empty right now. But she shares this building with the ducks and geese. So the ducks and geese don't bother her at all, and she doesn't bother them. So they're able to live in harmony very nicely. So we have this one, what I would call a nest. Not your typical nest, but a nest nevertheless. And then we have your more typical, or what we would consider a nest. So in here, which I know I've shown a number of times, but we'll show it again for anyone new who's watching. This is our goose nest, or one of our goose nests. So we'll block the sun so we're able to see a little better. So in here we have, I believe, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 eggs. So these eggs were all laid by my female geese. So it's not just one female who's been laying all these eggs, it's been a number of them. So I have up to 7 females that are laying eggs. So they'll all at different points come in here, lay an egg, and I was expecting at this point that one of them would start sitting on the nest, but clearly they have decided that they don't have enough eggs yet, so they're going to keep laying some. So we'll see what the final number is once they start to set. So geese and all birds will lay 1 egg a day. So if, for example, my geese decided to start laying, and if it was just one goose, and she decided that 20 eggs was her optimal clutch number. So this would be called a clutch. 1 egg would be 20 days old, and then 1 egg in that clutch would be just a day old. So they don't start the incubation period until they've decided that they have enough eggs to start setting. So all the eggs will have different age dates. But they'll all hatch at the same time because the incubation period starts once they decide that they have enough. So I wanted to give a shout out to some of our seniors who are watching. So I know we've had some residents from a number of long-term care facilities from Manville, Lloydminster, Elk Point, and St. Paul. So I wanted to thank you all for watching, and I hope you're enjoying the videos. And it's just brought so much joy to us that you've been enjoying these videos. So I wanted to give a special shout out to all of those residents from the various long-term care facilities. So we'll cover this nest back up, and that's what the geese will do themselves. So when we walked over here, the nest was covered up, and so that keeps the eggs warm, kind of at room temperature, or whatever the barn temperature would be. It keeps them from getting too cold. So we'll cover that back up. And if you didn't really know that that's what a nest looks like, that's what it is. There's nothing too fancy or elaborate about it. It's a lot of straw, and once the geese decide to start setting or to start the incubation period, they will pull breast feathers out of their breast, so all that down, and they will line the nest, and that will add an extra layer of insulation, warmth, and protection. So we're going to go from that nest, which has nobody on it, over to another nest, which does. And clearly, we've added to our amount of geese. So this one goose is pretty loud, and I'm going to see if I can so we're going to get in and take a look. So I wasn't expecting that there would be two on this nest, because for the past 2 weeks it's only just been the one goose, and even this morning and this afternoon there was just the one. So the other has decided to join her, and they will occasionally do that. The one will decide that the other has found a prime nest spot, and she'll join her in incubating those eggs. So we can tip them out through there. So it's a little loud to talk while she's making all that noise, obviously. But what I was trying to say was, up until earlier this afternoon, I guess, there was just one goose sitting on that nest back there, and she's been sitting for probably a week and a half. So what a lot of the geese do, or a lot of the domestic geese will do, or mine just will do, is will kind of co-parent, or they'll co-nest together. And one goose will decide that that's where she's going to lay her eggs, start her nest, and then another one halfway through the incubation period or at the beginning will decide, oh, that's a good idea, I'm going to join her. So that's clearly what that one has done, or she's just laying her egg, but they typically lay their eggs earlier in the day, so I'm thinking that they're going to decide to co-parent that nest. I'm not exactly sure how many eggs are under the two geese at the moment, but I believe they're around 5. So we'll see. It takes geese approximately 32 to 35 days to incubate their eggs, so a lot longer than it does for chicken's incubation period, which is 21 days. So we're getting around the 10-day mark, I think. I didn't actually write down when the geese started to set. So it's kind of a nice surprise. We'll just come one day and we'll just see these tiny little yellow fluff balls underneath the mothers, and we'll have some goslings. So hopefully we can show all of you that. It can be pretty tricky to show the goslings since the mothers are very protective and very loud, as you could probably hear. So I was hoping it would just be the one goose, because she's quite used to me coming back there, where this other one is brand new to this whole Facebook Live. So she has to get used to it. But from now, we're going to move to one of the other nests that I have, and that's over in one of our other buildings, but it's a chicken nest. So I'll switch this over so you can see the rest of the flock of geese. So it's a bunch of males and females, and some of these females have been laying eggs, but they just haven't decided to set on any of them. But the geese are very loud. They can be a little bit intimidating, especially during breeding season. But other than that, they can be very quiet and very personable. But right now, it's a very intense, very hormone-ridden seasons. So this is our turkey. This is our Ridley Bronze turkey. He's a tom turkey, so that's what the males are called. And right now he's displaying, so he'll scrape his feathers across the ground and he'll make a lot of noise. I can't do a very good imitation of it, so I won't try. So he puffs his chest out and then he runs his wing feathers across the ground. You can also see the great iridescence that he has to his feathers, so that that green, that blue, he's even got some purple in there. So this turkey is one that I'm keeping for breeding. Unfortunately, I don't have a female, so we can't get any more turkey poults. So I'm trying to look for a female so I can put these two together so we can hopefully hatch out some more turkey chicks. So he's very happy over there. He lives in with the hens. So right now we're gonna go into our other hen house. And it's a bit dark, so we'll keep the door open so you can see. So we weren't really able to talk about the geese when they were setting or sitting on their nest, but we'll be able to do that here with this hen. So in here we have one of the hens that is sitting on eggs. So she just started incubating the eggs on Sunday. So that's when I gave her 10 eggs. She would have laid some, but most of them would have been laid by some other hens. It doesn't really matter who's laid the egg, as long as they're feeling broody, or what some people call a clucking hen, because they make a very distinct clucking noise. You're able to give them any eggs and they will decide to incubate them. So it takes 21 days for chicken eggs to hatch from the start of the incubation period to the end. So you can see she's really hunkered down. There's a lot of difference between a setting hen and a setting goose. She's very quiet, and the reason for that is she doesn't have a lot of defense mechanisms. There's not a lot she can do in case there was a predator. So her defense is to stay motionless, stay as quiet as possible, and hope that if anything were to come across, they would just overlook her. So that's why we have her in a cage here, just so she can stay nice and protected. She is in a hen house, which is nice and safe itself, but just in case something were to happen, it also prevents any of the other hens from interrupting her. We do have some ducks in this hen house as well, so just keeps her separate from everybody. So she's able to sit on these eggs, and she's doing an excellent job. This hen was actually hatched from another one of our hens last year, so she was hatched on our farm, and she's not even a year old yet. So I'm very impressed that she decided to hatch some eggs herself. So we're gonna get all the non-essential animals out of here, including the cats. We have the dog out there, the cat. The dog knows she's not allowed to come into the hen houses just because there are eggs everywhere, but the cats aren't quite as well behaved or well trained. So the dog's good. She stays outside. What else can I tell you about this hen? She's a cross between a number of breeds, and she herself lays dark green eggs or kind of olive eggs. So I put a number of different colored eggs underneath her. I put some from my Marans, which are a French breed, and they lay dark brown eggs. She has some Orpington eggs under her, and the hens are with a Maran rooster right now. So I should get some really interesting and colorful looking chicks. So fingers crossed that everything will go well for this hen, and she'll be able to hatch out all 10 chicks. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't, so we just have to wait and see. The hens also kind of give you an evil stink eye, if you can see it. She's not very impressed that I'm here. so we'll leave her alone. We'll cover this back up. So we always want to be very quiet when we're around the hens because this is a very sensitive time for them. There's a lot riding on this for them because it's important that they're able to reproduce. They want to be able to take their genetics and pass them on to their offspring. So, sorry, it's kind of shaky. I'm trying to get a cat out. Come on. There we go. All right, everybody that's supposed to be out is out. Come on, Liz. I also have one of my ducks that has been laying eggs, and she's collected close to a dozen, but she hasn't decided to sit on them yet, so I'm not quite sure what she's waiting for. So hopefully within the next week or so, she'll decide to sit on her eggs. So these are a pair of my Rouen ducks. So I have the females on the left-hand side and the drake. The male is on the right. And then I have two hens back there, and so they're on the verge. They're kind of broody hens, but they're not quite. So they're figuring out whether they want to sit on eggs or not. So I have them in here with the ducks so they're able to go to some of the nests that I put out for them. So hopefully they'll decide to sit on eggs. So this is our other hen house that currently has chickens in it. So you can already see that it's, I think it's probably around 6 o'clock or so, that the hens have already decided that they've had enough for today. They're inside and they're going to roost for the night, where the ducks and geese are still outside enjoying the sunshine, and they won't be in for another couple of hours. So this is what the nest boxes look like for the hens. And I did consolidate some of the eggs so they're all together. But this is what our typical egg array looks like. So we have a lot of different colors. We have some dark browns. These are from my Maran hens. Then we have some blue-green eggs, as well as some olive eggs and some blue eggs. So I really enjoy the different colors, different sizes. Grab 3, there we go. It's always better to look at everything in the shadow, and then you can see everything a bit better. So you can see this one where my thumb is, that's the olive egg, and it looks far more olive in person. Then you have the dark brown, and this one where my pinky is, that's a blue egg. So if you want to see some better pictures, we have some on our Instagram, so then you're able to see the true colors where it's a little bit difficult on video. We also have one of our hens in the box who is probably going to sleep in here. They do that as well. They'll either go on the roost or they'll sleep in some of the boxes. So she's just happy to sit in there, content. And if I were to stick my hand in there, This hen will likely peck me, so that's one of the ways that they try to discourage us from taking their eggs. So you can see she'll give me a good peck, and even though I've done this hundreds of times, it still hurts, and they always seem to get you right in between the knuckles or right in the most sensitive part of your hand. So it's best to cover up your hands, or if you're brave, go in there, but even the most brave people will find it does hurt. So you can see under her she has 2 pink eggs, and then this one is a light blue. So I was able to clean out my hen house earlier, so I'll usually do that once after the winter has passed. So they just get a little bit of straw in here since they don't spend very much time inside the hen house. Once it becomes nice outside, they'll spend most of their days outside. So we've got one of our other male ducks, one of the drakes. We've got our turkey. So we've got a lot of animals moving around the yard, and I mentioned earlier that the ducks, geese, chickens all have free range. They're able to go wherever they'd like. We don't have any pens around the yard, and it would be pretty difficult to keep them in a fenced area since they are a lot smaller than cattle or sheep, so it can be more difficult to set up all that wire. So they just hang out in the yard, and their coops are their homes, so they go back to those every night, and all we have to do is shut the door. Makes it very easy and convenient. This is one of our roosters. So he is a Marron rooster. So the females of his breed will lay those dark brown eggs. And he's very protective of his hens. So I have a few other roosters that are in here with the hens. But this is the main rooster. So he's very protective and he'll defend his females. And a lot of people ask if the cats and the chickens get along well together. The cats and the chickens have been grown accustomed to one another over the years. We've had a lot of these cats for a number of years, and they've been very used to the chickens. You do have to watch when you have chicks, since they are very small and very tiny. The chicks are kept safe away from the cats. But the adult birds and the cats get along just fine together, so we never worry when they're together. And a lot of the times the cats will spend much of the winter in the chicken houses because they're quite a bit warmer than it is outside. And as you could see, the kittens were born in the one chicken house, or the goose house, so they clearly enjoy that. So that's probably all for today. It is still a bit windy, so I don't want to go out into the big field with the cattle because you'll probably hear more wind than anything else, and it won't be the nicest for your viewing. So we're going to say thanks everyone for watching. We're going to sign off. We're going to grab one of our cats. And stay healthy, everyone. Stay safe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on Sunday for the next tour. If you are wanting to watch any of our past tours, they're all on YouTube. So if you look under Chatsworth Farm, you can find them. You can see all of our calves that we have been born so far. We'll look at the sheep, which in the next couple of weeks we're expecting our ewes to start lambing, so that means they're going to start having their babies, so that's going to be very exciting. And can't wait to show you the lambs, because just like that cat that I picked up, I'll be able to pick up the lambs and carry it around throughout the videos if I choose. So remember to tune in for those. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great evening and stay safe.